Guys, what's up, guys? Jay Lee here. Today I want to talk about how the game got fucked up. And by the game, I mean the relationship game, society, all that. How the red pill came into existence in the first place. Do women deserve respect in general? And is the red pill / MGTOW aspect of the manosphere, is that like really feminism? Because I keep hearing this. People are saying, oh, MGTOW, those guys are just like feminists. Those guys are like the male feminist version, blah, 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 right? So on that note, the irony is that like 90% of the time when you talk with somebody who is criticizing MGTOW, their criticisms aren't really based on anything that you say per se. Their criticisms are really just based on how they feel. And they feel like because you're not on board with quote unquote respecting women despite their toxic behavior, despite any negative crap that women do, right? They think that you're some kind of automatic woman hater. And this is like the bananas type of irrational thinking that feminism is all about. It's like, well, if you don't respect us, then you're automatically a misogynist. No, respect is earned. I don't respect people who don't deserve respect. If you're telling untruths, if you are living a lie, if you are perpetuating a negative narrative against men in general, I don't respect you. I don't respect that. I don't respect your movement. Okay? So this leads me to how the game got started, how this whole thing got started, how the red pill got started, why men started walking away from women, why this all started in the first place, and then why it's actually not feminism, why it's not the male equivalent to feminism. So first off, let me just start with that. First off, MGTOW is not a movement for quote unquote oppressed men. Red pill and the MGTOW is not that. It's not a movement for quote unquote oppressed men. Red pill and MGTOW in its foundation, its foundational tenets and foundational philosophy is not about empowering men against female oppressors. Not quite. That's not quite what it is. What it actually is telling the truth about society and stepping out of the old narrative which says don't question anything. Red pill is about questioning things, questioning everything. So it's not about empowerment for males. Okay, it's about the truth. It's about telling the truth to males and thereby being freed from the matrix or the society that is basically lying to us, right? Like I said, why do we have to respect women automatically? Why can't women earn our respect? Why do women not earn our respect? You just have to respect them by default because they're female. What is that? Like, I don't even understand what that is. Like, what? Why would you have to? I mean, in general, humans in general, we should all, give a bottom baseline respect to people in general. We should be respectful in a general way. But if someone's acting shitty, say you're out and about, someone's talking crap to you, someone's treating you like shit, someone's cussing you out for no reason, someone's saying, hey, you stepped on my shoes when I didn't step on your shoes, man. That's the point where you remove respect and you say, you know what, this guy's fucking with me. I don't respect this guy. This guy's cussing at me. This guy's a jerk. He's saying I'm doing all these things that I'm not doing. I don't respect that. That doesn't deserve my respect. In the same way with females, men are being accused of being rapists by nature. We're being accused of oppressing them since society began. This whole narrative, which, by the way, really doesn't have a lot of foundation. There's not a lot of statistical fact or truths to men being oppressive since the foundation of the world. There's really not. We have a sort of historical narrative, but there's not really like, oh, there's millions of examples of women just being oppressed. No, actually, women just kind of did what women do, which is have kids, seek out a male who could provide for them and who was strong enough to protect them and have a family. But all of a sudden, somewhere along the line, women were like, no, we can do everything a man can do. We want all the rights that men have. And it's like, okay, well, if you want equal rights, you should have equal responsibility. Okay, you want to work, so work, right? But then all of a sudden, what came into being after that was something called affirmative action, which is fundamentally about inequality. Oh, so a woman can get a job over a man, or a person of color can get a job over a white person simply because of their color and their gender. That's kind of unequal. That's kind of inequality. You're kind of promoting favoritism. What is that, right? But it's like I said, hey, if you want equal rights, you need to have equal responsibilities. So take up that equal responsibility. Get your ass in the coal mine. Start building those bridges. Take up a gun and go to war. Do everything a man has done and see if you can hack it, right? And then women complain because they're not being paid enough or whatever. Well, you don't work the same hours. You don't work the same kind of jobs. You won't take the same kind of jobs men can do. Why is it that our world is filled with porn stars? Because sex is easy. Women are used to selling sex. It's in their nature to use sex as leverage, as a commodity, as a bartering tool. Oh, I want a guy who's got a nice house. I want a guy who's got a nice farm. So I'm going to use these big tits to go get myself a guy with a nice farm. That sounds derogatory. It sounds misogynistic, but you want to know what? It's the fucking truth. It's what women do. So it's pretty much, goes hand in hand that a woman is going to get an OnlyFans page. She's gonna sign up for Pornhub. I mean, there's tens, if not hundreds of thousands of women been doing porn for the last half century and getting paid for it. Some of them becoming multimillionaires from it. That's not up for debate. Those are facts. Okay? Here's the question. Does that garnish respect? Does that automatically mean that we should respect them? you see what I'm saying? Oh, well, you gotta respect me because I'm a woman. What? That's like me saying you gotta respect me because I'm a white man. That would be racist for me to say that. So why is it not sexist when a woman says you gotta respect me because I'm a woman? Why is that not sexist? What makes you deserve automatic respect just because of your gender? Now, like I said, I think people should have bottom line respect. I think people should get bottom line respect because we should all respect people. We should respect the earth. We should respect humanity in general. Why? Because it's good to do that. Because we should respect things. It's good to have respect. But sometimes things don't deserve respect. Sometimes you don't want to respect something. I don't respect sluts. I just don't. And then women say, well, why am I a slut if I sleep around and a man's not a slut if he sleeps around? Because it's not the same thing. It's a false equivalency. The only way that would be real is if men and women were actually in effect the same, and guess what? We're not. We're not the same. Because any woman, anytime she wants, can have sex, if she's decent looking enough, with most men. But a good-looking man is not going to be able to walk outside and get laid with most women. That's not the way things work. It's not how sex works. Okay? And that's obvious. That's obvious. So at the end of the day, men and women are not the same. So for you to say, so for women to say, oh, men do this, therefore it's okay that I do this, or men act like this, so therefore it's all right for me to act like this or something. It's not the same thing. Okay? So with that said, it leads me into how the game started. And this is how the game started. It started with sex. Women started to have a lot more sex, started to be more promiscuous. And this happened with second wave feminism. Feminism in the 1960s and 70s. Now, it also piggybacked on the civil rights movement. It's interesting that's interesting to note that the civil rights movement and the quote unquote feminist movement, second wave feminist movement, went hand in hand in the 60s and 70s. Okay. The problem there was that the second wave feminism was about freeing sex, freeing the stigma behind sex. It's okay for women to have sex, right? That's what second wave feminism was all about. It's okay for women to be sluts. We can't call them sluts anymore. We can't shame them anymore because it's her body, it's her choice, right? Well, unfortunately, the results of that have been a damaged society, have been a damaged relationship phenomenon. Marriage has been damaged because of that. 60+% marriages marriages are the divorce rates of marriages have gone up from 39% to about 59%. So from about 40% roughly to about 60% roughly between the years 1960 and 1970. And that was the time that the hippie movement, the free love movement, second wave feminism, removing the social stigma of promiscuous sex, loose sexuality, females being slut shamed, that all got removed in between 1960 and 1970. And the result was almost a doubling of divorce rate. Okay, so what does that tell you? It tells you that when women are promiscuous, it damages monogamy. It damages the family unit. And this goes without saying, because how could you be monogamous if you have a promiscuous nature? How could you love one man when you have so many options? And unfortunately, we know female nature is hypergamous, which makes love even that much harder. So this is how the game started. It started in the 60s and 70s. And by the game, I'm talking about the red pill, how men walked away. Okay, it started in the 60s and 70s. And guess what else that did? It produced a lot of children being born from divorce, which in turn raises the crime rate, because it's a fact that children from divorce commit more crimes. It's a fact that children being raised by single mothers are more prone to commit crimes and go to jail. I think I studied this once, and it was like 80 to 90% of inmates in prison come from broken homes. That's a horrible statistic. But it's directly reflected on the fact that promiscuity damages families. It damages the family unit. When women are promiscuous, they have a hard time to pair bond. When women are promiscuous, monogamy and faithfulness is harder to achieve in the long run. Okay. Now people want to say, "Oh, well, women should have the right to divorce men. And the fact that they divorced more men means that they were freer because they might not have divorced the men before because society would have shamed them for divorce or something along those lines. Maybe, but I think you're gonna have a hard time proving that. Okay, it's much easier argument to say that relationships were damaged because women are promiscuous, because that's more obvious. It's like you don't know that, oh, every woman who's in a long-term relationship wants to get out of it, or 60 or 20 or 30% of women in these long-term relationships want to get out of it, but they can't because they're afraid they'll be socially shamed for divorce, or because it's not as easy for women to get divorces. I've heard that argument before. I don't know about all that, man. You know what I think it really is? I think, if anything, a woman was afraid to get a divorce because she couldn't take care of herself, and the man was her cash cow. Now, you could argue on that note, you could argue and say, well, women were just raised to live off of men, whatever. And okay, maybe that's a decent argument. Maybe women of old were not taught how to take care of themselves or fend for themselves. Maybe. I don't know. But once first wave feminism went into effect, there was no more excuse. You could work. Women were being oppressed in the workforce. But here's another thing you got to take into account on that note. I talk about this often. The Industrial Revolution happened around 1870, 1890, I believe, around that time. And it really didn't, I would say it took about 20, 30 years for economy and businesses and corporations and companies to really get good, if that makes sense, to really kind of, build up their companies and get better at manufacturing things, etc. So really, once about the 1930s, 1940s hit, there was a lot more job opportunities for women in general. Whereas before, I argue that there really wasn't that many job opportunities. I mean, what were people doing in the 1850s? Men were killing buffalo and fighting Indians. I mean, is that a job opportunity for a woman? Some of them did. I guess, Annie Oakley, she shot a rifle. Right? But I don't see a lot of women, I'm sure they had to because it was a necessity. Like if the man died, they'd have to learn how to shoot a rifle. But that was the man's job. The man's job was to be physical. The man's job was to have a rifle, shoot an animal, cut it open, skin it, and eat it. That was the man's job. What did the woman do? She kept house. She raised the kids. And it was a partnership. But at some point, for women, it became like a come up to get a man with money, to get a man with a nice car and a nice house. It became a come up. Whereas before it was like, okay, we're in this partnership, we're working together to raise these kids, we're working together to survive. At some point it became like, you know what? I don't need that shit. All I gotta do is marry a rich man. And then you those of us who are a little bit older, we remember how parents used to be back in the day, like 20, 30 years ago. We remember that parents used to tell their daughters, marry a rich man, don't marry no broke man. Like that used to be a thing. So even society was pushing hypergamy. Even society was training and teaching women to be gold diggers. The parents were. All right. So anyway, how did the game start? How did the red pill start? Maybe started with feminism. But that's the thing. That's why, in and of itself, the red pill is not the same as feminism. Because feminism supposedly started with this narrative that men in general had a conspiracy to keep women down. Which again, is there any proof of that? Female nature wanted to be protected, so it went after a man who could get shit done. Female nature wanted to have children and raise children. It used to be that way. Somewhere along the line, some butch-ass, manly women said, hey, we could do everything a man can do, and I'm tired of being put down. And then they yelled the loudest, and oftentimes in this bullshit PC culture that we live in, the people who yell the loudest and complain the most often get fed, often get their wishes met. Oh, we don't like being oppressed, so we're going to push this oppressed narrative. Maybe you were oppressed, or maybe you had a good thing going. All you had to do was cook some food. All you had to do was raise the kids, and the man went out and risked his life. You didn't have to risk your life. So at any rate, you know what? All right. So do everything a man can do. Go work. I'm fine with that. But then second wave feminism happened, and I'm not fine with that. I'm not saying it's okay for women to be promiscuous, because it's not okay for women to be promiscuous, because there's all kinds of bullshit that happens from promiscuity. Kids out of wedlock, unwanted kids, STDs, broken hearts, cheating, murder. I mean, all kinds of shit happens. You cheat on, you go out to a bar, some woman hits on you, and you go home with her, and you find out she's married, and her husband comes and shoots you. How many times has that happened in history? Right? Promiscuity is fucking dangerous. I like sex as much, if not more, than any other guy in the world. Okay? So I'm not saying sex is bad. No, sex is great. It feels great. I'm saying it's fucking dangerous. There's consequences to it. And one of the consequences is that women have a very difficult time settling down after they've been used. Have a hard time pair bonding. In addition to that, they have a hard time being loyal. I argue they have a hard time being loyal anyways because of hypergamy, because there's always the BBD out there. There's always the bigger, better deal. This guy's got a cool car, but this guy's got a great truck. This guy's got a nice apartment, but this guy's got a house. This guy owns a piece of land. This guy's got a mansion. And in this day and age, in this culture that we live in, very easy for a woman to use sex to get something she wants. Now it's not the easiest for her to land a man, and that's why, and they call it that. Oh, you landed a man. Oh, you got a good one. You got a lawyer. You got a doctor. You got a rich guy. Because what are they doing? They're using sex as bait. And this is one of my things is this guy that I like, one of my favorite PUA teachers. His name's David D'Angelo. He wrote a dating book called Double Your Dating, which is a great book, by the way, if you want to learn about female nature. He talks about how women put men in one of two zones. They put the guy in the I want to have sex with this guy zone, or they put the guy in the I want to have a relationship with this guy zone. Okay? That's one of two zones. If she puts you in the relationship zone, she is going to basically friend zone you. She's not going to give you sex, because what women do, their mating strategy is to use sex to catch the best possible guy they can. So actually, if she's having sex with you, it probably means she really doesn't want to be in a long-term relationship with you. It means she really just wants some dick from you. So guys, don't get it twisted. If a woman has sex with you, like, that's good for you, but it doesn't mean that she wants to love you. It doesn't mean that she wants to be in a long-term relationship with you. It just means she wants temporary pleasure. You're hot enough, you're bad boy enough, you're masculine enough, you turn her on enough, she's attracted to you enough to have sex with you very quickly. But if she has sex with you very quickly, it means that she's not wanting to get in a relationship with you. If she wants to get in a relationship with you, she's going to hold off sex. Because the way women operate And her long-term mating strategy is to use sex to keep a guy around. This is how women roll, okay? And that's another thing that feminism did, was it removed any doubts. Men knew that, hey, wait a minute, there's a lot of women out here having sex. I don't need to settle down and marry these women. I don't need to get into a long-term relationship with a woman in order to get sex. All I gotta do is find the right woman at the right time, meet her at the right place, and get lucky. That's why they call it getting lucky. Because she wants to fuck, you're decent enough looking, you're in the right place at the right time, you're at the bar, you're sitting there, you got a place to go to, you got a car, good enough, let's go fuck. So you don't need to settle down in a long-term relationship to get sex, right? And that's the irony that these women fall into, is they don't realize that, hey, when you remove that, we don't want to buy the cow when we can have the milk for free. You see? That further fucks up society. Why? Because society does not function well with a bunch of promiscuous people. It functions better when there's quality families. But when you remove that accountability and responsibility of being in a faithful, monogamous, loving relationship, you have a society that is damaged on a moral ground, which means the kids are going to be damaged morally, which means the kids are going to grow up to be maleficent. They're going to be basically delinquents, right? Juvenile delinquents, right? So sex, promiscuity, immorality, tangibly affects society in a negative way, and you can track it statistically. In areas where sexuality is more rampant, there is high crime. California, New York, high crime. Crime rates are very high. Why? Because your parents aren't moral. Your mom was a slut. Your parents don't love each other. Your mom had you out of wedlock. So she's all bitter and she's toxic because guys don't want to settle down with used goods. Why would we? All you have to offer is sex. What can you give us that would keep us around? At least quality men. Nowadays, we've got these beta males who want sex so bad that they'll settle down with a woman that's not quality just to keep her around for sex. And this is a big problem. Because now you got women incentivized to be slutty. Oh, well, you know what? I can be slutty because someone will marry me. Someone will settle down with me. Maybe someone will, but he's not going to be the right person. And you're not going to be the right person for him. And it's not going to be a quality relationship. It's going to be a damaged relationship. And many times, those relationships are a single mother relationship, type relationship, where the woman has a kid from another guy, and now this beta guy's got to come in and be beta bucks while alpha got to fuck and she got pregnant from the alpha guy. And now this is the new strategy. The new strategy now is, oh, you know what? I don't even have to use sex to get what I want because men are so thirsty. I can go out and fuck an alpha for his genes, get really good quality genetics in a baby, and go settle down with a beta who's got me financially. That's a great strategy, right? Wrong. But this is what women are doing. Why is it a wrong strategy? Because you don't have love. You're gonna raise a shitty kid who's gonna be a little effeminate weirdo, which is what we've got a lot today. We've got these little Bernie bros, these little soy boys, these little communists who aren't even smart enough to understand that communism is shit. Why? Because everything about them is emotional. Why? Because the mother raised them and ran the relationship because the dad was so beta, he couldn't get any, he couldn't find a quality woman. It's arguable if there are quality women out there. He's so beta that he had to settle because he's so weak. He doesn't know how to be masculine, probably because he was raised by a single mom and he was a product of divorce. See how the cycle happens? It's generational damage, generational degeneration, generational levels. It goes down each generation. The quality of the humanity, the quality of the humans goes down each generation because the parents are fucked up. See how that works? How did this fuck the game up? Because women didn't want to get married anymore. Because second wave feminism said, hey, you can go be a slut and nobody's going to shame you. You don't even have to find a guy. You can wait till you're 30. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with waiting until you're 30 to get married. You don't even have to have a kid until you're 30. It doesn't matter that a whole bunch of, your youth was wasted. A whole bunch of, all that time in your 20s could have been used to learn how to be a quality woman, to learn how to raise a child in a good way, to better your character, to better yourself so that you can raise a great family and you can have a great life. Instead, you were out getting dick. It's okay because second wave feminism said that's all right. Perfectly fine. Wrong. It's not perfectly fine. We're seeing the negative effects from that. We wanted to get married. Men wanted to find love. I wanted to at like 16. Now that's a bit young. I've always been a horny guy, but I wanted to get married at 16. Or I shouldn't say I wanted to get married at 16, but I wanted a girlfriend and have love. That's a rare thing to meet your love of your life in high school and it to work out for the rest of your life. But that's what I wanted. That's what I know a lot of guys who wanted that. But it didn't work out. Why? Because women wanted to fuck the bad boys. Women wanted to go out and sleep around. Women wanted to sow their wild oats, enjoy their youth, ride the cock carousel, basically, right? And they didn't want to settle down with us. In addition to that, hypergamy's been worse than it's ever been. Oh, you don't have a lot of money. You're not a rich guy. You're not the popular guy. You're not the guy who dresses so cool. You're not this. You're not that, right? To the point where we start feeling like we're not good enough. To the point where we say, fuck this, something's not right. And then we take the red pill. And then we're like, oh shit, we learn about hypergamy.